We are counting down the days to Rebelcon, and virtual passes are now available at an early bird discount of $200 off the normal ticket price. This virtual pass gets you live access to all general sessions with our expert keynote speakers, as well as links to view the sessions later. This deal will end soon, so get your Rebelcon virtual passes now. Hit the QR code for more info or visit rebelcon.marketrebellion.com.
And here we go. I'm Pete Najarian. This is the Take for Market Rebellion on this Friday morning. Another wild week. We had some earnings. Obviously, retail really did dominate this week. We talked about that last week going into this week. And this week, of course, covering everything from Walmart to Home Depot, you name it, across the board. And the markets have actually responded reasonably well. As a matter of fact, yesterday, a very interesting day because we were down triple digits early, both the Dow and the NASDAQ. And then we made a really nice recovery. We didn't fly to the upside, but we kind of did. We flew at least off of those lows. The Dow finished the day up 18 points and above, right around that. Well, I shouldn't say above, but right at 34,000. I look over at the NASDAQ, a really nice return as well, and actually finished in positive territory by about 27 points. So you really did see a very nice big reversal. And we'll hit some of the sectors in just a second that really were contributing to why that was such a big move yesterday off of those lows to actually finish in positive territory. We did have crude. It has recovered. It's gotten back a little bit. We've gotten it closer to 90. We did hit 91. We had natural gas up there at 920, kind of hovering around somewhere near 920, 940. We had a nice move of late there as well. And Bitcoin has been holding up reasonably well up towards that 24,000 level. But that might have changed today in a big way. We have volatility trading, the volatility index right around 1950. We also had some nice volume yesterday, but well off of where we were. 36 million contracts trading yesterday, well beneath where we are year-to-date average and the August average as well. But nonetheless, 36 million contracts. It does have an amazing feeling of being slow at this point because we've gotten so used to these bigger numbers, well over 40 million contracts. But 36 million in the middle of summer, that is a statement in and of itself. What was really driving the markets yesterday? There was a couple of things. One certainly had to be Cisco. And that name up basically from start to finish, call it anywhere between 5 or 6% to the upside. They did have their earnings that seemed to be buoying the market to some degree. The CEO had some great commentary on air talking about supply chain and a lot of different other things. And that was definitely a stalwart in terms of the production that they give and what they did completely give to the markets, whether you're looking at the S&P, the Dow, you want to look at technology, you take it whatever direction you want, had a big influence yesterday. So energy with this little bit of a recovery off of that 87, 88 level and this moving up towards 90, 91, that was already up pretty nice in the first hour of trade yesterday, a little bit, call it 1.7%. But we finished the day up about 2.5%. Big contributor, obviously, coming from energy onto a lot of the recovery that we had seen. Tech was a little bit flat early on, finished up about 0.5%. You had the communication side as well as consumer discretionary, both in negative territory. They didn't get into positive territory, but they recovered from being down 0.5% or more to get up towards being flat. So that certainly was a big influence as well. Beta energy, well, we talk about it all the time. It moves in both directions. Yesterday, it was moving in the right direction, the upside, and absolutely ripping. You have names like APA and Devon and Halliburton, Marathon Oil. We go with Schlumberger, EOG, all of those names, huge contributors to what was going on yesterday with energy. Throw in the big boys like a Chevron, and you get the idea. Energy certainly did have that big turn. The other area that didn't get covered a whole lot, I know it's a subsector, but you take a look at the SMH yesterday. The semiconductors really had another great day that they followed up with. And it was Marvell, it was NVIDIA, it was Micron, it was Applied Materials, it was Broadcom, you name it, all of which were moving to the upside yesterday in a big way and contributing to the markets. There was some that struggled yesterday. Walgreens Boots, a huge struggle yesterday, and that had some effects across multiple indices. We also look over at Moderna. That's been having more and more of those days where it struggled a little bit, along with Vertex. Chinese names under a little bit of pressure. I saw NetEase and JD and Baidu all in negative territory. Illumina just cannot seem to be able to find its legs, and then throw in Verizon as well. So you get the idea of what really was working and what wasn't working. But I'll tell you, semiconductors, that really was, and it's that subsector, I realize, but also sometimes gets grouped into the technology space just a little bit as well. So we get into Friday. Early on, there's a little bit of pressure on the markets. We're down a couple of 100 points on the Dow, triple digits on the NASDAQ. We continue to be there. As a matter of fact, we continue to not only be there, but fall even a little bit further down to the downside. So we're looking right now at the NASDAQ down a little over 230 points, at least right before I came on here. And the Dow down about 240, 250 points to the downside. So a little bit of a hit right there. You take a look at crude. Crude just kind of hanging right around that 90 area. Not a lot of movement. Nat gas did pull back underneath 9. It's fluctuating back and forth above or just below that $9 level. The 2-year starting to gain a little bit more. The 10-year starting to get a little bit closer to 3. That's where we do oftentimes see some of that move where you start seeing a little bit more interest in that, the 10-year, and a little less interest maybe in the markets. We'll see if that plays out. Volatility, it's a little bit above 20 right now. We'll see how that plays out as we go into the weekend. And obviously, every time we go into a weekend, you got to start pricing ahead. So we'll see how much it really does hold on to that 2050 level where it is. I will say this, Bitcoin, it had been hovering above that 24,000, and it looked like maybe that was going to be a little bit of a floor. Well, that didn't hold up, and it kind of pulled back down a little bit further. Today, even further, down about 8% or so, down closer to 21,000, 21,500, sort of in that level. Definitely taking it on the chin today, along with the markets themselves, but that really does stand out. 8% move to the downside. Pretty significant. You've got that volatility index of the NASDAQ as well, kind of hovering around that 25 level, which is the lower end of this week. Somewhere call it 25 to 27. You look at the VXN, it's about 25 and a half last I looked. There is a lot of different interesting news sources today, and obviously the meme stocks continue to be part of the conversation, especially when you look at Bed Bath & Beyond and the filings there and selling the entire position for RC. I mean, it is a lot, and that's why we're seeing those dramatic moves. And as I've said before, you look at these short interests that are that big, and at some point in time, we do see this happen. It was AMC, it was GameStop, it was a lot of different names. We've thrown Tilray into that. We've thrown Bed Bath & Beyond into that. There's a lot of different names, and I would say that list of names that are quote-unquote meme stocks is getting longer and longer and longer, and those shorts have times where things are okay. They also have some times where they're not so great when you see some of these squeezes that we have seen over time. But certainly that has been a highlight and a very newsy item for a while now. Communications, they're getting hit just a little bit today. They're down nearly 2%. You look over at consumer discretionary, was down 1% early on. It's down 2%. I look over at financials. I look at technology. I look at materials. I look at industrials. All of them slipping a little bit further down, and that's causing why when we started the day off, call it down about 175 points or thereabouts. Now that's a little bit closer to 250 points. You can see where that's coming from. There is one sector, however, that is in positive territory right now, and that's the healthcare sector. It's a little bit less than it was, but it's still holding on just enough right now. We'll see how long that's able to hold on to, but sometimes looked at as a bit of a safety area as well. It's DaVita that puts itself into that category. I see Lilly, I see Merck, I see Bristol Myers, I see J&J, all in positive territory, at least for now. We'll see if that can hold up. GM also in positive territory. Past that, it looks like a lot more red on the screens than green, at least right now. Even though it's not a huge move to the downside, let's be honest. Although the NASDAQ, that's a pretty decent size move to the downside. We are seeing a lot going on there. You look at the cruise ships under a little bit of pressure once again. You look at Carnival and Royal and Norwegian, all under pressure right now. I look at some of those, quote unquote, those very newsy type names that a lot of people really didn't know much about until we started getting into the pandemic. So maybe the pandemic names we could call them, but DocuSign and Okta and Datadog and Zscaler and those kind of names have a little bit of pressure on them, along with Boeing and throw in Lucid. Disney struggling just a little bit today. Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, those financials under a little bit of pressure. And I'll even add Nike to that as well, with a little bit into the red also. So a lot going on there. Now, before I jump onto the unusual, I got to hit this real quick. Rebelcon. It's going to be exciting. It's the last week, the late 21st to the 24th of September. It's going to be great. It's something we're very excited about. We've got some great people that are going to be there, and we're really excited about what we've got. We've shrunk it down a little bit from last year. Had a great time last year in Las Vegas. We had, I think, 1,500, 1,200 people, something like that. This year, we wanted to make it a little bit tighter and a little bit more intimate, and that's exactly what we've done. Many of the tickets are sold. Go on there, get a chance. Maybe you'll be able to find something, but many of those live tickets have been sold, but there are a few that are still available. But I will tell you, there's also the virtual side of it as well. And that's something where you still have the advantage of the early bird until August 25th. But that date is coming up very, very quickly. So I just mentioned that. Keep an eye on that. If you want to get a chance to see Bryn Tarkington, a lot of the Market Rebellion staff, of course, all of us will be there. But there's all sorts of wonderful people. Brian Sullivan from CNBC, one of the great guys. He was with us last year. People loved him. We had to bring him back again. We've got a great lineup of folks, so we're very excited about that. So get a chance, take a look at that on the Market Rebellion webpage. You'll be able to navigate yourself there very, very quickly. Rebelcon should be a lot of fun. Now, two unusuals, and we're out of here, and then all of a sudden we're getting a little bit closer to the weekend. The Vikings and the Niners and all of that. A lot going on. Should be a lot of fun. Aries Capital, ARCC. This one's pretty good. It's trading about $20.30. We had a buyer of 20,000 of the October 19 puts. Now, we don't have that oftentimes. That was a big buyer, and that was something that definitely stood out to me right away. And the fact that they're going to October, they're not going to September, they're going to October, that stood out as well. So the October 19th puts, two prints, 50 cents and 55 cents. That was it. That was the 20,000 that actually was in this trade. So something to keep a little bit of an eye on. Certainly somebody looking, maybe it's a hedge, maybe it's actually looking for something to the downside in this name. Very interesting to see that big size trade in a name that we don't see a whole heck of a lot, to be honest with you. Secondly, I got Paramount. This one's also one of these names that doesn't hit a whole lot, but every once in a while we see this name. It was trading around $25.50 in that range. A buyer of 5,500 of next Friday's expiring 27.5 calls. That should be pretty interesting. 13 cents to 15 cents. Not taking a whole lot of money for this calls, but if this stock starts to move anywhere to the upside, those calls have a very decent chance of moving as well. But in a very short time frame, we've got exactly 1 week from today for those to expire. Keep an eye on those. They're the 27.5 calls of next Friday in Paramount. 25.50 is where the stock was, and they're buying 13 cents up to 15 cents. Interesting to see that as well. Folks, have a safe and a wonderful weekend. Be smart, be disciplined. I'll tell you what, the one thing these meme stocks can teach you, there's no doubt in my mind, is you've got to be very, very disciplined, and you've got to have yourself in a regiment where you know you're going to sell it here or buy it here or whatever the case may be. These things move like crazy. We've seen movements that have gone up 40% and down 40% and up 70% and down. They do move in a hurry oftentimes in both directions. So just know that and have that discipline. That's something we always talk about here at Market Rebellion. Have a great day of trading.